Welcome, viewing several. So this is episode 2 of my series on Japanese N and Z gauge. So in the first episode, I was looking at Tomic's layout in N on quite a small footprint that was still practical. And here we have the same locomotive, more or less. It's a DE10, I think it is. Japan Railways DE10 diesel, and this is the Z gauge, and this one's by Rokuhan, whereas this one is Tomic's. So yeah, that's a comparison of the size, 1 to 220 and 1 to 150 Japanese N gauge. So yeah, I'm gonna just there's not much to say other than that because of my limited space. Over the years I was going to build a very small layout, and I've collected a few items like this. The plan was always to build something on a board or in a suitcase or a flight case or something like that, so I could store it away and keep it free of dust when it's not in use. So I kind of abandoned the project for a while, and then I was ill. I had various things, and including cataracts, and I couldn't see properly, so I had those fixed. And now I find I've got all this stuff still. So what I'm going to do is I'll finally build some things. So this is really just me starting it off by looking at what I've got, going through the boxes of stuff. Some of it I bought new, and some of it I pounced on some used job lots when I saw them on for sale second hand. So I got a bit of a mixed bag of Z gauge stuff, and I did buy a couple of new complete loops, and then I bought a whole bunch of stuff that included track and all sorts of bits and pieces. And then I recently bought a few more things. I think I got this one from AliExpress, and it was in a sale, and I paid about 20 quid for it. And then this was from Japan Plaza Japan, and that was only about 30 quid. So one of the other reasons I stopped is because they were difficult to get hold of, and they started to get incredibly expensive. So I sort of started buying used Hornby 00 gauge because it was like peanuts in comparison. But going back to this now to see what I've got in my boxes, I thought I might try and build something. So this is just to compare the two locos, and I'm going to have a look at the track that I've got now. So we'll go to that. Right, cheers. This is the track that I've got. So let's just move the light a bit. So I find that I've got loops of 5 different radiuses. I've got 95, 120, 145mm, 195 and 220. There's a bit of a gap here. I do wonder if there's a 160 or a 165, but I don't really need to get that. It's not like I'm collecting it. It's just kind of what I ended up with. I think I originally bought this and this as a double track set new. I think this came, I'm pretty sure I got these, and maybe it was these two that I bought, and then I got these second hand, and this one, I think I bought this separately because I was planning on doing a very, very small radius layout. Which you can still do, and you can do a kind of little really tiny thing. It's not as small as the smallest one they do is that one I'd covered in one of my episodes of Hands Up, which has got like a little tiny loop like that, but you have to run the shortened locos around that. So this is what I've got. So as I said, for this layout I want like a small but functional one, so I would rule out 95 for that. And I'd probably rule out these bigger ones because I'd save this for doing something a bit bigger. But I think either of these radiuses will probably fit inside a flight case that I've got. So I'd be inclined to take this radius if it fits, or this one if not. because what I would like is a siding at the side and then one in the middle, similar to the layout I did for the Tomix N-Gage example. So what I will do is I'll show some of the track plans that I was looking at in a later section of this, showing the differences in size and so on and so forth. But obviously I could make a much smaller layout with that, but to be honest, when they get to this size, it's really kind of a novelty thing, and you just want a scenic thing running around. If you want something to play with and do a bit of shunting, it's got to be at least this, maybe even this. So we'll see. I have got some points. I've got this one, which I don't seem to have opened yet. I had a feeling that I bought that for another project, which I may not do anymore, which is the little tiny case layout. But that has got this radius and then 2 tracks. And I found when running it, it was just slightly too small to actually get the couplings lined up to couple, to shunt properly, because everything's always on a curve if you go too small. So if you want some sidings, you've got to try and go a little bit bigger. But I think at the moment this is the candidate that I will use for this. I've got a bigger flight case, and it is, I think I've got about 45 by about 32. So I think that might go. Right, just before I set anything up, I'll just show this. This was like this is what I'm sort of not going to do this now, because this just is too small. This is the 95 radius track. So this board and this layout, I will have a 95 radius, but I'm not going to put any points on it. It's just going to be a loop, and then I'll do something with that another time. I think perhaps something scenic, just a novelty case layout. But there's no real, it's no fun trying to operate on this size. So I'm going to dismantle this and reuse the points and the buffer stops and the decoupling track on the bigger suitcase one when I build that. So I'm going to go ahead and dismantle this next, and then stick the track away and keep what I'm going to set up now, and then we'll set something up. Right, I've discovered a few things. So this is a bigger flight case, and this is what I can fit in it. So that's not too bad. It's actually it's a hybrid radius, so this 45 and this 45, which are the ones away from the points, are actually the 95, and then the others are the 120. I can fit in the 145 radius, but you're not going to get any sidings or anything, so it's all compromise. So I think this is scaled down. This is a very similar style layout to the N-Gage one that I showed. So what I'll do is I'll put the case out the way and set it up on the desk, tidy things up, and then we'll see how well it runs. If it runs with carriages and wagons. Right, so I'm just going to talk briefly about this track plan. So on the top you can see the bigger flight case versus the smaller flight case track plan. There's not really a lot of difference. I mean, the smaller case, all we've really gained is we've got a bigger radius track in the top left and bottom right corners, and that has made, it seems to have it means that I don't know, it looks like there's a shorter siding, but we don't really need a long siding. But it does just make the track, the running, just, it's just the loop is just that bit bigger and less tight. So it does run better, given the tests that I've done. So it's maybe got lost a little bit of length on the length, the width way length, but it's actually
yeah, it's pretty much the same because you obviously got a longer curves. But I had to keep, in order to get enough straights in to put the points in. Of course, I had to keep the tighter curves in the other two corners, but they are in the corners in where you don't approach the points. So you're in your approach to the point, you've got a slightly bigger radius, just so that it does run that little bit smoother in and out of that points corner. So I think that's important. So that's the track plan I'm going to use. And I'm gonna the lower one, the smaller case. I'm gonna just put a loop in it, and maybe do some scenics. And that will just be a basic loop. So the one at the top is going to be the slightly bigger case, and it's going to have the sidings and the electric points. So that's that.
Right, here we are. I've set it up. I've got a couple of bits of foam board, so I've got a gap in the middle, so I can run these wires and make the track level as it can be on this desk. So really, this is just to tell. I mean, if I'm going to build this in the suitcase, it's going to need to be feasible. It needs to run smooth and not keep breaking and keep having to me to intervene all the time. Now, I don't mind doing uncoupling by hand, that's fine, but I've been seeing problems with the coupling, so it could just be because these wagons are brand new, so I may not worry too much about that. So let's see, let's start her up and just try slow speed as always to start with. This is a battery controller, so I don't know. It's got something like 6 AA batteries in, but you can give it a 10 volt AC, so I probably will find an adapter for it in my drawer of adapters, and I would imagine that it would work fine on 9 volts as well. Okay, so we'll just increase the speed. It'll go a lot faster than that. It will go that fast, which probably at this scale is it's sick inducing. Right, for the scale driver. Now then, I'm going to try some shunting and just see if it works. So the problem I had is I can't get it to automatically couple with these wagons. These particular wagons seem to be the coupling. I don't know what's wrong with them. They're standard N gauge couplers, but they're just not having it. I don't know why. It's kind of annoying. So I guess, yeah, I don't know why that is. I just cannot get that to automatically couple, and then obviously I've shoved it in hard to try and force it, and I've derailed it. So not a great start, but I think it's. I'll tell you what, we'll leave them there. I'm going to do that. Don't need to do that by hand, so we'll leave them there. I'll go and get the Let's go and get the tankers. Right, switch that point, and we'll back in. Get the tankers. Yeah, that's good. Flip the point back. Now I'm going to see if the tankers, because wagon to wagon, perhaps that will be more successful as an auto couple. No, no, there's something that these particular wagons are just not. Oh, there we go. Right. I mean, it's possible that this point needs multiple switching to make it switch. And what I've noticed about these points is I've had to replace them because they just seem to stop working. And I'm using all of the official switches and everything, so I've not done anything to abuse them. And I've got 4 or 5 of them that just don't work. So the modes of failure are it takes multiple switch throws to get them to actually swap. Then some of them will only switch in one direction, but you can switch them by hand. But often another mode of failure is that they'll only carry the current in one direction, even when switched. So they then become effectively useless because they're just a straight piece of track. I suppose you could add extra feeds to the siding, but on a layout like this, probably doesn't matter. But if you were relying on using them as isolating sidings, that would be a bit rubbish, wouldn't it? But so I might just have a go at dropping off them black wagons just for a laugh. I am going to have to manually do it. So one switch, that's gone this time with one switch. But now, yeah, so what it will do is it will throw it, but then it won't necessarily carry the current. It's, I don't know, maybe I can clean that point up, but there's not much you can do to service them. And so in terms of uncoupling, yeah, you can do it. You got to be careful. It's very, very fiddly compared to bigger gauges. So that's the downside. But I think if I was to put this in that case, I would have to raise the level up so that there's not much of a lip, because you wouldn't be able to get in to do the uncoupling otherwise. And I just think these wagons are just not very good. I think these tankers are better. They're bogey wagons. And let's flip that and we'll just back them in. And the couplings just seem a bit better. I don't know. I can't really. This is very difficult to do because I don't know if I can actually do. See, I don't know how viable this is because of the way these couplings are. I mean, I could use a different tool to decouple them, but I'm not actually too worried about that because I think that's something that I could change the tool, or I can get used to what you need to do to decouple them. So I think that's all okay, and some of it's just teething trouble. So my main worry is that oh, it's picked it up this time. Okay, that point needs 2 goes to switch it back that way, but that's fine as long as it goes. Right, we'll go back in and we'll see if we can get that to pick up. Yep, that's worked okay. So I think it's okay. I think that's a good. I don't think it's a case of this or the other one. I think it's a case of both. So I think the Tomics one I showed in the first episode, I think that's going to be on a board, which I might build a case around, or I might not. But because it's on a board, I can probably just put it on a board like the size of that board, but a bit shorter, and it will be easy to store. This one, I really wanted to build an N gauge, a Z gauge layout inside a flight case. So this is what this one's going to be used for. So yeah, a few teething troubles, but actually they are lovely runners, these Rokuhan locomotives. I've got some old Märklin ones that really don't run well. They need a service, but I think also, I don't know what make they are, they might be another make, but they are Z gauge, so I imagine they're Märklin, but they might be another make, and they really do need a different controller and track, I think. So I probably won't be using those, but these things are designed like the Tomics and the Kato. They will go round absolutely tiny radiuses. So actually, I think now this is running, I'm pretty pleased with that. I think I am going to go ahead at some point and I will put this on a board inside that flight case, and then I can decide what I'm going to do in terms of scenery, if any. Might not have any, it might just be like a train set layout inside a case, and then perhaps in the lid I might put a place to store the rolling stock. I don't know yet, but it could be a fun thing to have. So it's worth building, and I think that's what I'm going to do. But yeah, no, that's pretty nice. That I like that now. I had a few these little wagons I don't like that much, but I think you can keep your eye open on Plaza Japan, and you could buy. I'm going to buy a few more. I thought I'd bought more, but they had a lot of the things were out of stock at the time, and both in the Tomics range and this range, I've found that these short wagons, you think, well, I'll get the short ones because you'll be able to pack more in for shunting, but they don't weigh enough, and the coupling, it's always terrible, and because they're not on bogies, they don't go round the corners as well. So it's worth getting these longer wagons, so the longer tank wagons with the bogies, and also they do box vans that are bogie ones as well, and reefers and things like that. And if they've got the articulated wheels, the bogies, they're just better. So I think my mistake was to buy these cheap four-wheel box cars, and actually the performance of them both in this gauge and in the N gauge, as we saw in the last episode, is just not as good as the bogie ones. So there we have it. I'll hopefully, I don't know what I'm going to do in the next episode. I'll probably won't do anything in this series for a while now until I get round to actually putting it into the case. But yeah, this one's definitely going ahead, as is the Tomics one. And then I've got a load of Kato stuff, but the plan for that is going to be on a massive scale rather than a little micro layout. When I get my shed, I'm gonna do something a bit bigger with that. So, and I've also got plans to do a slightly bigger UK outline N gauge layout with what bits I've got. Although some of it doesn't run that well, so we'll see. We'll see if I could be bothered, because if it's one of the reasons I'm doing this is to see if I've got the things I need, and so I have. I think for the UK outline one, I would set things up and then I'd have a list of things to buy to get it to work, and I don't think I'm going to go down that road, at least not for now. So this was really to get everything out the box, run it, see what I can do, see what I can fit, and then I think I'm going to actually make something for a change for once. So there we go. I think I've got enough there to make something. I think that's fine as it is. So yeah, maybe see you in the next one, or in the next episode of Hands Up, or in the next. I've got another. Probably tomorrow I'll do some things on my live frog shunting test layout, maybe, if I get time. So yeah, no, I quite like this. I think that's fairly successful. You can see my lights run out of battery, which is a bit rubbish. I really ought to invest in a proper one. If you spend 10 quid on lighting, it's no wonder it's rubbish. But there you go.